I wanted to tell a little bit about my life and about my testimony. I was born in Illinois. At the age of 5, my family decided to move to Dothan, Alabama. We left in the snow. And as we came to Alabama, it was so hot and humid weather. And I almost couldn't hardly breathe because it was just so hot. Well, my family and I lived on a bus. Dad had bought a school bus. It was blue and white. So you had the blue and then the white stripe and then blue again. And he took out all the seats that was in there except for the first 4 seats. Half of it in the back was our belongings of whatever we can fit in there. It was boarded up with a wall, and we lived in the other half of it. And we had mattresses laying down in the floor. We had a little toilet. We had a little refrigerator. We had a toy chest. We even had a TV with a VCR set. And if y'all remember the Atari set, we also actually had that to kind of keep us occupied. And that was our life. We lived in there for about 3 months, roughly. As we were going to leave Illinois, we had family that lived in other parts of Illinois, along with Kansas and Pennsylvania. So we knew that it was going to be a while before we was going to be able to see them again. So as we're making our move, we're also traveling to go see our family. And so that was just our life. And that's all I knew. And my parents at that time, they had 4 kids. I was the oldest of all the siblings. And Dad decided to finally give up and just surrender to preaching. And that was the whole reason why we ended up moving to Alabama. He left as a chemist. He worked in a glue factory that was up there in Chicago, Illinois at the time. And he worked as the chemist and working as making the glue compound for like the tape and the adhesives. But during that time, I had witnessed the struggles that my parents have. Just as a young girl, they didn't really have anything, just whatever they had that of the items that we had sold down in the basement. I remember I had like a little people farm set that I loved so much, and I remember down there in the basement playing with it until somebody decided that they wanted to buy it. And oh my goodness, I cried so much because that was my favorite toy. Mom even had to leave her china cabinet behind because we didn't have room for it, and her china set, and of course that never did get replaced. But they didn't have a job. We didn't have a church. We didn't have any family. We didn't know a single soul in Alabama. But yet Dad surrendered to preach, and he decided it was time for us to go. So as we finally get to Alabama and trying to find our place, and we didn't have any groceries. School was fixing to start. We didn't really have the school supplies and the clothing. Of course, Christmas and birthday presents was kind of hard to come by too sometimes. But then also there was another baby that was on the way. That was actually a surprise. But God had always provided, and that was something that I had always saw. We would find groceries on our doorstep, school supplies that was always provided for us. And I even remember one year where we had Toys for Tots who came one year for Christmas. And I remember seeing that truck pulling up to our yard. And as the Marines are unloading this truck, you know, package after package, and they put it around our little Christmas tree. And there in the living room, our living room starts filling up with all these presents, and we couldn't hardly walk in the living room because it was so much presents that was under that tree. They had our names on it too. They even had names on the presents from my mom and from my dad. And that was just such an exciting time, something I would never forget. But as I gotten older, I experienced more in the church on how people can be sometimes mean and have such hatred in them. But I've also saw how the goodness of God and how he moved in the church and how it grew. We had revivals, VBS, youth group trips, youth camp, which I dearly loved, baptisms that we had in the baptistry, in the creek, and even in the pool. I also was baptized in a pool. It was kind of cold. I remember getting in that very cold water. But I saw how God had moved us in so many different places. And I had such different experiences. Met so many people along the way. As we had lived further away from family, and I adopted a lot of grandparents. I had a lot of grandparents. Every church that we had, everybody was my grandma, everybody was my grandpa, my nini, my pawpaw. I had a lot of aunts and uncles that I kind of adopted into my family, along with many cousins. But this prepared me for who I am today. And at the age of 16, that's when I realized the relationship that my parents had, and the relationship and the love that they had for each other. But also I saw the relationship that they had with God. That was the relationship that I wanted. I was drawn to it. So God was already preparing me as a young girl, but he revealed that to me at the age of 16. Because I wanted to be a pastor's wife. I wanted to be a mom. And I knew I wanted to be a child of God that will faithfully follow him. My life has never been the same since. And as being a pastor's wife, and we're trying to grow our kids, and y'all can go to the next slide now. And here's our boys right now, and Aaron, he's the little one. He was probably not even quite 2 at this time. And then Scott, our oldest boy, his name is actually Michael. And he's named after his dad. He's a junior. And he's probably about 3-ish or so right here. And we had a lot of challenges, growing up young kids through the church. There was lots of times where they would take the psalm books and stacked them up like they were building blocks and ready for the tower to fall, and they'll go, ooh, crash, as the dad's preaching, taking their little cars like they're going to make a road out of it, and then like they're having a race, and dad's up there, and of course he'll get on to them. There was even times where I had to go outside and go find a switch. Dad did too. Sometimes he had to take his belt off back in the Sunday school room, and right before he had to go preach a couple times because they wouldn't behave. There was times where I had to take their toys away, because as they get a little older, you can go to the next one, where they started getting, a little sneaky, and trying to bring something that might be a little loud sometimes. So I had to take it away, and they threw their little temper tantrum, and so, during all this time, you do get judged, because you are the pastor, you are the preacher's wife, and your kids are supposed to be on 100% best behavior. But they're still kids. They're still going to act up. They're still going to tell lies. They're going to get mad, just like any other kid.
And here on this picture, this is Mike's first time as he decided to preach. And then the other picture there with them dressed up, we had a Easter play that we did when we were back in Texas. And that was just a wonderful, wonderful play that turned out. And we saw how God used us and the church to move through us. And but there was a lot of times I had to take the kids back to the nursery, because they did get a little too rowdy, and I was hoping somebody, some older lady that decided, let me just take your kid back there. But I didn't get that much. It was mostly mom. Mom always had to go back to the nursery all the time. And I was always hoping maybe one day, I might be able to at least spend some Sunday, out so I can actually hear a message, but I couldn't. But when the kids got a little older, they were able to start going to Sunday school and started trying to get them to sit with us and, trying the best to keep them behaved. And we had to force the kids to go to Sunday school because they had a little separation anxiety from mom, where they would just hold onto my leg, try to hide underneath my skirt. And as the Sunday school teacher is grabbing the kid and pulling him away from me, and he's just kicking and screaming, he was not going to have it. And oh my gosh, that just broke my heart. But I knew I had to show a little bit of a tough love, because we had to start that process of him learning, how to be separated from mom and dad all the time. And go to the next slide. So times had been a little tough for us, and here's our daughter, and she's our one and only princess. She thinks she rules the roost. She's 18, and she thinks she's 25, that she could do just whatever she wants to do when she wants to do it. And I'll decide what I want to do. That's pretty much her motto. But we wouldn't trade her for anything. A little backstory about her. We had the two boys, and Mike was pretty much satisfied that was it. We weren't going to have no more kids. But I said, I want a girl. And he's like, nope. It's not happening. 2, and that's it. Well, I started praying, and I said, God already told me I was going to have a girl. I already knew it was going to happen. And we kind of discussed it from time to time, and I just had to kind of leave it alone. And then one day he just comes home after work, and he says, we're making a baby today. And I was like, what? So I got pregnant pretty quick, and before you knew it, we had our little princess on the way. So that right there was a God thing, because I had to let God take care of that. But times had gotten tough for us, over the course of the years. But we had always seen how God had always brought us through it. And now, as we're older now, we're in our almost getting close to the 50s now. We're starting to see a different season in our life right now. And I don't know where God's going to end up taking us, as we age. But I'm ready to see what God's going to end up doing in our life. Because now the kids are adults, and 2 of them are moved out. Our little princess here, she said she's ready to move out. She can't quite afford it yet, but I know that day is coming, for her. And eventually we're going to be empty nesters, eventually, and I'm just ready to see what God's going to end up doing in our life, for the next 20, 30, 40 years, however long God chooses for us to be here on this earth, unless he comes back before then, and to see where God's going to end up taking us. And go to the next slide. So during our ministry, we had did OCC. If y'all don't know anything about OCC, that's Operation Christmas Child, Samaritan's Purse. That's out there in North Carolina, and Franklin Graham now is pretty much the head of it now, and so I was a spokesperson for OCC. I absolutely loved and adored doing OCC. I served for 6 years down in the Baldwin County in Escambia County. And here you can see one of our sons carrying in shoe boxes because we were a distribution center, our church was, here in Foley, Alabama. And go to the next slide. And we were unloading a truck from another church who was dropping off their boxes. And it was just a wonderful experience, something that I'll never forget. And go to the next slide. And so here's a little video. We got to actually go to the main distribution center, and which was in Atlanta. Our closest one is in Atlanta, Georgia, or outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I actually signed up for us to be a volunteer to work at the distribution. So we were kind of caught off guard that somebody wanted us to make a little bit of a video. I think it was my husband that actually decided to do this, if I remember correctly. So somebody else is filming, but y'all gonna kind of laugh at this because the way I was talking, I'm so country, y'all, even though I was not born in the South. But go ahead and play that video and y'all get a kick out of it.
Hey, I'm Pastor Michael Watts. With me and my wife Devion is here at the Operation Christmas Child Processing Center. And you can see here like boxes like this. We're going to be boxing this up, taping it up. It's going to go on the roller, and it's going to go in a truck and go to a village somewhere. So, I want you, this Christmas season, if you're going to be getting Christmas shoes or anything for Christmas, keep your box and donate to Operation Christmas Child. And my wife's going to tell you just a little bit more about the ministry.
Operation Christmas Child is an awesome way to spread the news of Jesus Christ. And we have boxes with all kinds of items, stuffed animals, hygiene products, candy, school supplies, any kind of clothing and shoes will also fit into the box. So go pack a box if you haven't done it this year, you've still got time.
And this box, like many others, is going to bless the child. Merry Christmas. God bless you.
I told y'all. Oh my goodness. I don't know. If y'all remember Jack, he was down there in Louisiana. Go pack a box, Jack. You Duck Dynasty, that's right. Yeah. Duck Dynasty down in Louisiana, they were a big spokesperson for OCC for a little while, and we had videos that always says, well, go pack a box, Jack. So I don't know if I was thinking about that or whatever, but anyways, that would get y'all a little kick out of that. But I definitely would like for us to go again. All right, go to the next slide. So right here, it shows some vacation Bible school that we have done in the past. And, of course, as we had one here, and we always enjoy seeing the kids and teaching them and loving on them. And go to the next. And, of course, we saw how God moved, as we did baptisms. Brother Mike has gotten to baptize all our kids. Right here you can see the picture of our middle child, Aaron. He was getting baptized. And then this other picture is a young couple who was in our church, and we went down to the lake, and that's where their baptism was. Go to the next. All right. So as I had talked, that we was going to talk about how to be still and how to trust in God. And I thought Hannah would be a great example of how to just trust in God and be still in his voice. And here in 1 Samuel, and I got the verses up here for y'all, in chapter 1, 8 through 18, and then Elkanah, which was her husband, and said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart so grieved? Am I not better than 10 sons? So Hannah arose, and after she had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, and now Eli, the priest, was saying, it's kind of hard for me to read that, sorry. My eyes are not the best. All right. So Hannah arose and she finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. So Eli the priest was sitting at the seat of the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul. And she prayed in the Lord. And she wept in anguish. Have you ever wept so hard to where like no words would come out? And you couldn't say anything, because you had such hard bitterness and you didn't have the words to speak. This is how Hannah felt. Hannah was crying so hard, but she had a desire and she was waiting for God to answer. Go to the next. So then she made a vow and she said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on my affliction of your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child. She wanted a son. Then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor will come upon his head. And it happened as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli watched her mouth. But Hannah spoke only in her heart. Her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought that she was drunk, and Eli said, how long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. He thought that she was just having a good time, and she was just drunk, and she didn't know what was going on. Go to the next. But God answered. God answers our prayers. He knows our heart. He knew her heart. But Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but I have poured my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and my grief I have spoken until now. Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition, which you have asked of him. And she said, let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went away. She ate, and her face was no longer sad. And how God answered Hannah's prayer as she wept bitterly for a son that she wanted so desperately. We've all have been there in places where we had just asked God to please help us, whether it's take care of our rent or take care of our power bill, provide for the groceries, maybe even the gas in your car. We've all been there, and times are just so hard. But God is always there. He always answers. Go to the next. And here we can see back in Psalms 1 through 3, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Who are we supposed to fear? We don't need to fear the world because we got God in us. The Lord is our strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? We don't need to be afraid because he's in control. When the wicked came against me, I eat up my flesh. My enemies and my foes, they stumble and fail. Though the army may encamp against me, my heart will not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. No matter what enemy may be surrounding us right now, no matter what's been going on in our lives, that we know we can be confident in God because he is in control. Go to the next. Here it talks about Joshua. And Joshua, was fixing to lead the Israelites into the promised land. And many had to die off first before they can enter into that promised land, flowing with the milk and honey. And it says to be strong and good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, he is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. And then Moses had called Joshua and said to him in the sight of Israel, be strong and of good courage, and you must go with the people to the land which the Lord has sworn to your fathers and to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, he is the one who goes with you. He will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Do not fear nor be dismayed. Amen. God's already claimed it. He's already done said that I'm going to be with you. Don't be afraid because I got you. He's got you. And in Psalms 46, 1 through 3, God is our refuge and our strength and the present help in trouble. Therefore, he will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters roar and troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. God's going to shake those mountains away from us. He's going to make that path, and he's going to clear it for us, and we can go forward. Go to the next. In John 1, 1 John 4:4, you are God of little children and have overcome them because he is with you. He is greater than he that is in the world. With him in our heart, we know that we can face the devil's temptations, and we're supposed to come like little children and fall to his knees and just let him take our burdens. That's what he did on the cross in Romans 8:3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God did by sending his Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. On account of sin, he condemned sin to the flesh. He took care of it at the cross. He washed it away. He loves us. He desires your heart. He desires to have a relationship with you. And go to the next. I just want y'all to maybe you need to have that silent prayer like Hannah did. Maybe it's something that you have been praying for a long time. Maybe those answers hadn't came yet. Maybe it's been a couple months. Maybe it's even been a couple years. But God knows your situation. He knows the heavy heart that you have. He knows when you're unable to speak. Even though Hannah's lips only moved and she had no words coming out, she vowed that she would take her son, once she received him, that she'll give him back to the Lord. And in such of her grief, and Eli had heard her prayer, but he blessed her. God has blessed us tremendously. And God remembered her painful weeping. He knows when you're in pain. He knows when you are hurting. He knows your heart. And as she conceived and she gave birth to a son and named him Samuel, which means heard by God. And after, of course, he was weaned, and she gave him back to the house of God so that way he can serve. And Samuel became to be a well-known person in the Bible. He has done such great things. So I want you to be like Hannah and praise him and exalt his name. Some things to think about. What burden have you been carrying that you need to fully surrender to God? We all have burdens. We all carry them, no matter if you're 10 years old or no matter if you're 99 years old. Am I trusting God's timing? Even when I don't understand his ways, why sometimes he may delay our answers? How can I be faithful even while I wait for God's answer? Sometimes we have to wait in the stillness of God and trust him that he will lead us through.